Okay, so good morning to everyone. The story of Chanukah tells us how the Hashmonaim stood against the Greeks with a lot of strength. Even though they were weak, they were very few, and they stood with a lot of strength against the whole empire of Greek. And they had an unbelievable siyata dishmaya, and you cannot even imagine how much siyata dishmaya they had when they were 13 people, as Rashi says in Parashat Vezot HaBracha, that stood against a huge empire. That's something that we cannot understand. And even though they were Kohanim, meaning that they have never even touched a weapon, they managed to fight against them and win. And that's a thing that is unbelievable. Where did they get the strength to stand against all of this huge empire and go to fight with them? That's something that we cannot even imagine, how 13 people are going to fight against such a huge empire. What drove them to do that when it's absolutely hopeless? So the explanation for that would be that they were great tzaddikim. The Hashmonaim were great tzaddikim. And when they saw that all of the Jews at that generation started to be similar to the Greek people, and they started to have deterioration, spirituality, they couldn't stand against that. They couldn't give up on their people and let them become Greeks as well. They saw all of the Jew people going lower and lower in spirituality aspect, and they couldn't give up on that. The Mefarshim says that when you look at the word Yavan, you write it like that. You have a Yud, then you have a Vav, and then you have a Nun. So they say, the Mefarshim, that shows the way going down. Why is that? Because the Yud is like a small letter, and then you have a Vav which is a bit longer, and then you have a Nun Sofit which is much longer. Meaning that you are going downwards when you are going with those Greek people. And the deterioration starts with a small thing, like a Yud, but at the end you come to the Nun, the Sha'ar Nun it's called, which means that you are in a very, very, very bad place. The Chafetz Chaim was saying always that all of the Haskalah, which was a big, big, big thing that destroyed the all Yiddishkeit in Europe, it started with them saying that you are not supposed to say Yekum Purkan at Shacharit. And from that small change became all of the Haskalah at the end. So the Hashmonaim stood with the devotion to fight against those Greek people because they couldn't stand that they are destroying the Judaism. And even though they had a very slim chances of winning, they went to this fight and fight against them. Why is that? That's because they were on fire to fight for Hashem. They were on fire to fight against those people because they were so connected to Hashem, and they couldn't stand the situation where all of their people are going lower and lower and lower and having a deterioration. And that would explain to us how come they tried to find a pure oil where there are no oils that were pure. All of the oils were impure, and even though all of the oils were impure, they tried to find a pure oil. Why is that? At the local sense, when you're trying to think on that, what are the chances to find a pure oil when the Greeks made all of the oils impure? Secondly, we have an halacha which says, the Rambam, the Gemara in Psachim, that whenever you are doing a mitzvah in Bet HaMikdash, and this mitzvah is connected to the whole public and not only to a single person, you can do it even if it's impure. Therefore, even though the oil wasn't pure, you could use it for the menorah, you could use it to light the candles. So what is the big issue for them to look for a pure oil when they could use impure oil as well? Says the Mefarshim, that's the point here. The point is that whenever because they felt such a connection to Hashem, they couldn't give up a comma of Judaism. They couldn't compromise anything, and they wanted to do it in the great tahara, the great pure. And that's the reason why they looked for a pure oil even though they didn't need to. And that's the reason why they went to the war against those Greeks even though there were no chances, because they were so connected to Hashem and they couldn't give up on the connection to Hashem. And that's the message of Chanukah. When they were big tzaddikim, they were great tzaddikim, and they were tehorim, as we say in Al Hanisim, and we all are supposed to try at least to become similar to them, to try and be on the side of the fence where we are tzaddikim, we are tehorim, and not tmeim and reshaim as the Greek people. And here we come to a very strong story that happened 8 years ago, approximately, just in Chanukah as well. It was in Bergen-Belsen. There was a very great tzaddik over there called Reb Shraga Shmuel Schnitzler. And he was a great rabbi in Hungary, and he came with the trains of death to Bergen-Belsen. And they worked there very hard in the freezing cold and in heat, with no clothes, with meager of a portion of food, nothing to eat. It was very difficult. And one day came to him one of the Nazis and told him, "Look, I know that you are a rabbi, and I want you to say kfira things. I want you to say that you are not believing in Hashem anymore. And that would make me very happy." Rabbi Schnitzler stood on his Judaism and told him, "There is no way that I'm going to say anything like that. I'm going with Hashem till the end." All of the people around thought that that's the end of the rabbi, because he made the Nazi very upset with those words. And the Nazi took out the gun, aimed it to him, and told him, "Look, you have a last chance to say kfira things and say that you are not believing in Hashem anymore, or else." The rabbi didn't move at all. He just told him, "Look, there is no way. Do you think that I'm crazy just because you're frightening me? I'm going to leave Hashem? Are you crazy? There is no way. Shoot me right away." And he shot him. The rabbi fell on the floor. And then all of the Jude people were very sad because he was a very great rabbi. And the Nazi commander came and told this Nazi, "Now all the blood was split here and I don't want it to be unclean over here. Drag him towards the place where all the bodies are." He dragged the body. After a couple of minutes, this body started to move. And the rabbi was alive. It turned out that the bullet missed him in a few centimeters, and when he caught that he is alive, he just fell down and pretended to be dead, just so the Nazi wouldn't continue shooting him. And he tried not to breathe at all, and tried not to move at all, and tried not to smile, even though he understood that he had a huge miracle here. And he was alive. And he got back to the bunk, and all of the Jew people saw that he is alive, and they were very happy. And the day after, this Nazi that shot him saw suddenly the body walking and speaking And he understood that this person is very, very, very unique. And he told him, look, I understand that you are a very unique person. You are a great rabbi. And I'm going to make you the rabbi of Bergen-Belsen. Because I understand that you are not a person. You are much higher than a regular person. And he became the rabbi of Bergen-Belsen. And he had much more food. And he managed to have some kosher food as well. And he managed to help other Jews as well. And when came Chanukah, the day before, he wanted to have candles to light for Chanukah. And he found some pieces of cloth that were pretended to be wicks. And he managed to find some oil. And after that, he saw that actually there was one great rabbi over there called Rabbi Misatmer from Satmer. And he hid those stuff for him when he was at the Holocaust. And he managed to escape, and he went to Italy, or Schweiz maybe, Switzerland. But anyway, this was for him as well, and he used it for Chanukah. And when he lighted the candles, and all of the Jew people were there, they were very, very delightful that they managed to do Chanukah in Bergen-Belsen. At the end, the war was ended, and he made an aliyah to Eretz Israel, and he lived a very long life. And this story shows us just what we spoke about. He didn't want to give up on anything that is connected to his connection to Hashem. He preferred dying and not living Hashem. He preferred dying and not living the connection to Hashem. And he preferred dying and not living even one mitzvah that is connected to Hashem. And that's the message of Chanukah. That the Hashmonaim were in a very difficult place where they needed to fight against a huge empire. And they needed to fight against all of their people that became Greeks as well. And they needed to find the pure oil. And they managed that because they didn't give up on the connection to Hashem, and because they were fired on it, and they wanted to be connected to Hashem, and that's what drove them. That was the engineer which drove them to do the things they did, and they managed. And that's the message of the candles of Chanukah as well, just as the Shem Shmuel says. A very nice idea where the candles that you are lighting in Chanukah, you're putting it outside, you're putting it on the left side. The left side, according to the Zohar, meaning the bad side in a way, which the strong side, the good side would be the right side, and the left side would be so-called the bad side, and you're putting it out away, and the oil is smoked after the wick, even though it burns it. Says the Shem Shmuel, that's the idea of Chanukah, where whenever you feel that you are out, you are in a left position, meaning that you are not succeeding in anything, and you have a very difficult time. You are supposed to be smoked after Hashem and go after Hashem, even though you feel it burns. Even though you feel maybe I'm losing something from that. Maybe when I'm davening or I'm going to a shiur of Torah, I'm losing money because I'm not working. But that's the idea of Chanukah, where whenever you feel that you are so-called burning yourself or you're losing something, you need to believe in Hashem that you're not losing anything. And even though you're at the left side or you're feeling that you are outside, you don't feel any connection to Hashem, you need to try and go on and make the connection and make the bonding to Hashem stronger. And the Bet Yaakov from Ebzisa says a very strong idea here, that's what we saw in this week's Parsha, which we just read last Shabbat. We saw that Yosef HaTzadik didn't have any exams from Hashem when he was with his father and he was settled down. All of the exams that he had were when he was at Egypt, when he had the difficult time there, when this woman did lots of bad things to him to try and tempt him to do whatever she wanted him to do, and he didn't fail in anything. When did Hashem try him and made him all of those tests? When he had a difficult time. This is the time when you have the option and the opportunity to show to Hashem, even though I am going through some tough times, and even though I have a lot of difficulties, I am loyal to you, and I'm not losing the connection to you. I'm not giving up on the connection to you, and I am a loyal son. And that's what we saw in Yosef when he had all of the tests, whenever he had the difficult times, not when he had the good times, not when he was settled down and with his parents, with his father at least. And that's the point in life. That's the point in life. Usually when you have the difficulties, that's when Hashem really tries you and really tests you. Are you loyal to me, or are you giving up on the connection to me just because it's a bit difficult? And the Araf Nachal says in Parashat Yitro that the main olam haba that a person has after his life would be when he stood against all of the difficulties and was loyal to Hashem. He says that in this week's parasha we said it in the shur as well. Rashi says that Bikesh Yaakov lishev b'shalva, meaning that Yaakov wanted to be settled down, to sit in peace and to live good life. What Hashem told him? The first Rashi says, Lo dayam latzadikim. Isn't it enough for them that they have a olam haba? They want as well olam hazeh? Says the Araf Nachal, what does it mean? Isn't it enough? He says like that. Whenever you do mitzvah and you are settled down and everything is fine, the sachar, the olam haba that you have for that is not enough for you. You wouldn't have so much olam haba for those mitzvot because you didn't show Hashem that you are really there, you are really with Him. Only when you are going through some difficulties and tough time, and then you show the loyalty, then you show that you are going with Hashem, then you have the main olam haba. The main olam haba would be only when you are going through some difficulties and stuff that are not so easy, and you are showing loyalty. And that's the Rashi in our parasha as well. And here I want to end with another point. That usually some people might think that they don't have the powers for that. They don't have the strength to stand against all of the difficulties that they have. And usually, just so you know, that whenever someone has a huge difficulty, and he might think that after that he would have like a good time or anything like that, he needs to expect that things would be even worse. Because we just saw in Abraham Avinu that he had 10 exams that Hashem put him in, right? 10 exams, 10 tests. What was the 10th one? Not everyone. His son, Yitzhak. So according to the Rambam, that's right. But according to Rabbeinu Yonah in Avot, that was the 9th one. Number 9. Number 10 was when he came back after all of this experience with Yitzchak, and Sarah died. And that was a huge tragedy. Because he lost his son, or he was supposed to lose him, and after standing in a huge test, a huge exam, suddenly his wife is dead as well. And that was a very strong hit that hit Avraham Avinu. And that's the thing in life. Whenever you have a difficulty, and you might think that after all of this you would have some peace and you will have some quietness, that's incorrect. Just after this exam, you would have another one. Just after this difficulty, you would have another one. And whoever sits here knows that. I'm not saying anything new, but that's the thing in life. That whenever you have all of those difficulties, if you are going with Hashem, you would earn. If you are going with Hashem, you are showing loyalty, and you will earn. And that's the power of the Hashmonaim, where they stood against all of the nisyonot, all of the tests, all of the exams that they had, and they managed to win all of the war and managed to light a pure oil, and they didn't give up on any comma of Judaism. And that's what we are supposed to learn from Chanukah. That whenever you are going through difficulties, that's the option and that's the opportunity to show Hashem loyalty, and you have the powers for that. Just as they had the powers to fight against the Greeks, just as Yosef HaTzadik, when he was in his exams and they were very difficult, he managed to win all of them. And what gave them the power? What gave Yosef the power? The Sforim says that the power he had was because of Chanukah. Do you know that? the Sforim says that the nisayon, the exam that he had, the test that he had with this wife of Potiphar was in Chanukah time. And they say that it's written in the pasuk in our parasha. The pasuk says, chapter 39, the pasuk says, "Vayhi kehayom," became the day hazeh, "Vayavo habayta lasot melachto," and he came home and then started all of the story. Says the Sforim, kehayom, the word kehayom is the letters of Yom Chafhei. Kehayom is Yom Chafhei. Yom Chafhei is Chafhei of Chanukah. And that was the day and the date where he had this experience and this test and exam with this lady. And says the Bat Ain, and the end of this parasha, he says, we know the Gemara says that Yaakov Avinu came to Yosef at the Chalon. Do you remember that? He came to him in the Chalon is the window, and he told him, you can stand against this woman and you can win the exam, you can win it. What is Chalon? Says the Bat Ain. Chalon is Chet Lamed Nun. Chet Lamed Nun is the Rashet Evot, is the acronymous of Leadlik Ner Chanukah. Leadlik Ner Chanukah are the letters of Chalon. Meaning that Yaakov Avinu told him, look, do you know the message of Chanukah? The message of Chanukah is that you can win anything if you really want to. You can win anything if you are not giving up on the connection to Hashem. And when he told him those words, and when he told him that a bit of a light can do a lot of light in darkness, that's what gave Yosef HaTzadik the power to stand against her. And therefore, when he met his brothers in this week's parasha that we will read, the pasuk says that he told him in chapter 44, "Halo yadatem, don't you know, ki nachesh yenachesh ish asher kamoni, that I have powers." What is yenachesh? Yenachesh is Rashet Evot of Yadlik Ner Chanukah. Do you know how I become Ish Asher Kamoni? I became such a great person because I understood the message of Chanukah and I lived it. And because I understood this message, I became the person that I am today. Just in this morning, when we read the Torah, I thought that maybe to connect it to this day, we read about Eliav ben Chelon, right? Eliav ben Chelon. So I thought maybe Chelon is the same word of Leadlik Ner Chanukah, just as Chalon. And meaning that how did he become a Nasi? How did he become such a great person? Because he was the son of Chalon, meaning he was the son of the understanding that you have the power to do everything if you are believing in yourself and if you are not giving up on the connection to Hashem. And that's the great message that we all must learn from Chanukah, and we cannot pass Chanukah without it. We shouldn't give up on anything that is connected to Judaism. We shouldn't give up on any connection to Hashem and on any mitzvah. And we do not have the difficulties that they had in Bergen-Belsen. We are in a much, much easier place when you have all of this food and a lot of gashmiut and everything is much easier. And because it's much easier, we need to put more efforts in it because Hashem wants us to be connected to Him and it's much easier, so why not to? And that's the message of Chanukah, that we all must learn not to give up on anything that is connected to Hashem, but to be connected to Him and to be strong in our belief in Hashem, in doing the mitzvot.